Hey guys, this is a Patreon Q&A. If you would like to be in next week's video, simply check out the link in the description and you can sign up there. I'm also going to be going into spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about. MajinBoros asks, when Saitama and Garo fight, do you think the fight will take place on Earth? Because I don't think so. If Monster Garo can vibrate the Earth just by pushing Saitama into it, I don't think the Earth can survive when they fight. I think that once they start fighting, maybe God or Garo transports Saitama into the place where Phoenix Man took Child Emperor to, because if they go to this other plane, then maybe Saitama has an excuse to do the serious table flip instead of on Earth because he knows he'll do a lot of damage. So you bring up a pretty good point here, but I don't necessarily think that God really cares about Earth all that much. I mean, yes, Earth is implied to be his end goal and like taking it over and becoming a single thought entity, but he hasn't really shown that he's like overly protective of it in this sense, because after all, he did give the power to Psychos and Orochi, and as soon as they got it, they shot that laser that like cut off a big piece of it. And as far as we know, God didn't seem too upset about that. Also, when Garo lunged Saitama through that mountain and it caused like that shockwave through Earth, he didn't seem too upset about that either. So I don't necessarily think that he's that concerned about it enough to manually send Saitama and Garo to the spiritual space, or whatever it's eventually going to be called. Also, Saitama isn't really bound by that place, because we saw that when Phoenix Man did take Child Emperor there, Saitama could like punch a hole into it and come and go as he pleased. Now, I'm not saying that this is completely off the table. It could happen for sure, but I think Saitama fighting someone that powerful in a place that isn't on Earth, I think is going to be the final battle, and I'm actually going to be talking about that in the next question. But you mentioned the serious table flip here, and I do think that that is coming for sure. It might even happen in the next chapter actually, and that may actually lead us to where the final battle will take place, or at least a majority of it, not in the spiritual space, but like in the sky, or like straight up in space. And the footage that I'm using here as reference is coming from MMS Animator. This guy is incredible, and he may have made the best One Punch Man fan animation on YouTube. But aside from just his animation skills, I think he did a pretty good job illustrating how this sequence could realistically play out. Now, he depicts Saitama throwing that chunk of Earth into the sky, the piece that we talked about earlier that Orochi used that God laser to blow off, and I initially thought that that could be a setup for Saitama to use as a serious table flip. I mean, why not? But also, the logistics of it are kind of crazy, and surely if Saitama throws that, either he's going to have to just keep it in space, because if it comes back down, that's like an extinction level event for sure, right? I mean, we are in battle manga after all, and especially in the One Punch Man world where things don't play out the way that they do in our reality, because surely just Orochi blowing off that piece of the Earth would have ended the Earth in real life anyway. So I'm unsure if Saitama will like straight up throw that piece into the sky / space. I mean, he could for sure. I have no doubts that he's strong enough, but it's just going to like kill a lot of people. But I do think that we will still see a serious table flip regardless. He might just throw all of Z City into the sky, or at least a portion of it that we saw Tatsumaki kind of like constrict, because that seems to be evacuated for the most part. And since he's already lost his apartment and everything, maybe he just doesn't care anymore, and then he just throws that into the sky or space, and then he just fights Cosmic Garo up there for the remainder of the fight, or at least the majority of it. And then we could get some real crazy cool feats up there too. And another thing that makes me think this, of course, is because this kind of happens in the original fight in the webcomic. Now, when Saitama originally does the serious table flip, it's hard to say how much of the ground he actually throws into the air, and it's also hard to say how high up they go, because it kind of plays out ambiguously. We don't know if they are literally in space or just really high in the sky, because the only real indication that we get is Garo saying that he can't see the ground anymore. But this is the manga after all, so I'm sure that they will probably go to space, or at least very, very close to it, and I have no doubts that both of them can survive in the vacuum. I mean, Saitama already proved that he could. So I think this will probably be more so the answer to them fighting and not having to completely hold back. William H. asks, how do you envision the final battle of One Punch Man going down? I think Saitama will indirectly trigger the release of God, and a solar eclipse will darken the sky in the big final battle where God will be defeated by the ultimate ultimate serious punch. So yes, I do think that the fight will end with the ultimate serious punch, but I don't think it will happen on Earth. As for Saitama indirectly triggering the release of God, that remains to be seen. But I do think that once it's all said and done, and it's like Saitama versus God and they're facing down each other, it will likely either happen like in space somewhere or in that other dimension where we see Blast's crew and where God is implied to be held. Because this way, Saitama doesn't have to hold back, like I was talking about in the previous question. And I think this is where we will see his full power, like the ultimate serious punch or whatever it will be called. I think will just come down to Saitama showing his full power. Either he'll say like full power punch, or this is me not holding back, or you know, whatever, to indicate that this is like Saitama's true full power, something that he obviously couldn't show on Earth because he would probably vaporize it if he did. And that will be the fight. Pretty much. I do fully expect Saitama to defeat God in one move, more so one punch. And it's already kind of been shown to us how this fight is going to play out, and I want to talk about that in another video. L asks, 6 weeks ago, I took pull-ups and chin-ups out of my routine. They were making my joints hurt. I added Zhoniin curls and Cuban presses in place. Are these part of your routine? If not, have you found something better? So to be honest, I've never done Zhoniin curls. I kind of just do hammer curls, which more or less are kind of giving you the same thing, but I guess they wouldn't be as forearm intensive as the Zhoniin curls. But as for the Cuban presses, they kind of sketch me out. I don't like doing that movement, let alone with weight. But for delts, other than just, you know, standard presses and things like that, I like doing high raises and like upright rows with easy bars. I like those over standard barbells because they put like less stress on my wrists and I could get like a better full range of motion with them. And those things like really fill my delts with blood, like more so than any other movement. So I do those like almost every delt session for sure. ShadoStorm asks, do you think Garo will die in the overall story of One Punch Man? And if so, how do you think he would die? So I think Garo's safe. I don't think he's going to die, not even like sacrifice himself or anything. I don't think he needs to die, and I don't get the feeling that One wants this character to die, because I think if Garo were to die at all in the series, a great time would have been for him to die against Saitama. Not saying that it would have been great or good, but I'm saying if he were to die, I think it would have been good for him to die at the end of that arc. It surely would have been a shock, and it would have maybe changed the tempo and the tone of the series going forward after that. Again, it didn't need to happen, and I'm glad it didn't. Garo dying anytime after that, like maybe towards the end and he sacrifices himself in the god stuff or whatever, I don't think is necessary. I think there will be other heroes to die for sure. Yes, I called Garo a hero, but I don't think that's Garo's place. I think he's going to live for the rest of the series for sure. Little Ferrari asks, what do you think of season 3 of The Boys so far? I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, me too. I watched all of it in like one session last night, which is rare for me, and it's just as good as the other 2 seasons for sure. I'm just curious if this is going to be the last season or not. I mean, I hope not. I hope that it, you know, goes on for like 4 or 5 seasons, but realistically, it doesn't seem like there could be that much story left to tell, especially now that Homelander is becoming super unhinged. I mean, and it's clearly only a matter of time before he just goes berserk on humanity, which we've all been waiting for since like the first episode. And I'm just wondering, how long can they stretch that out for? Like, can it go another season or even 2 more seasons? I mean, I'm sure the Amazon executives wanted to go that long because it's one of their top series, but narratively wise, I'm really looking forward to seeing how long they can stretch this out. But man, I'm really excited for this season. I want to see Soldier Boy come into play, and I want to get the reveal on what the BCL Red is, or I think that's what it's called. When I turned on the subtitles, it called it the BCL Red, the weapon that was implied to have killed Soldier Boy, although we know that he's not dead because the trailer showed us that he's like in some kind of stasis or something. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. I want to thank all of my patrons for continuing to support me. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, guys. And once again, if you would like to be in next week's video, simply check out the link in the description and you can sign up there. Also, if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.